Evening, everybody. Doing kind of a take two on this. I tried uploading one of these earlier and I missed some stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys kind of the guts, the insides of a Henry Dobson 1867 banjo, and tell you a couple things about it. So this one is one that I've had for 4 years now. I've had about four of these instruments come through my hand, through collectors that wanted me to work on it, or that I've bought and eventually sold on to other people. Friends that had one, and I actually held on to one for a fella for a while, where he had to leave it here, and I took it apart, made sure everything was good on it, and fix it up, put a new head and everything. Anyway, this is a really cool piece that I got with this too. It's actually an original tailpiece from Henry Clay Dobson. What's kind of sucks is that this is only half of it. So originally, if you look it up on Google, you can sometimes find one, but this would have actually gone out to about here. It would have been a lot longer, and it actually had it says it has the patent year right there, patented July 16th, 1867. It says up top, typically, Henry C. Dobson's parlor banjos and guitars, maybe, but it might just say parlor banjos. Hadn't looked at it in a while, but yeah, it's pretty cool that this is original, but sucks that it's cut down. When I originally got this, someone had tried to move the bridge back, so they had to I guess they had to cut down the tailpiece, so because the tailpiece sticks out so far, because typically your bridge sits right about in the middle. Anyway, I suspect, and take it with a grain of salt, because there's no way to really tell, that this is a fairly early one. I don't mean like it's a prototype or it's from the first batch in 1867, but I think it's a fairly early one. You can see there's the stamp, but I've seen these before where this cut's not as long, but typically they don't have this many of these brackets here, these brass brackets. And the way this thing is put together, so this one's got, I think, 45, and it's got 22 of these screws. Most of the ones I see only have 20, and probably like 36 or maybe 40 of these brackets. But the way this comes together is this is your tension hoop, and it is laminated, I believe poplar from what I've read in the past, but it's laminated poplar, so 2 layers that are staggered. So you can see there's a seam there for the lower one, and then there's a seam there for the upper one, and then of course it's veneered with Brazilian rosewood, as was everything in like the Victorian era or whatever era that was. I think that's Victorian. I don't think that's Georgian yet, or no, Georgian would be. Don't listen to me. Another reason I think this might be early is if you look in here, this is a handwritten label. Several of the ones I've had in the past, they actually have a printed label in there, and the label names the patent, and it actually tells you how to put the head on. 2 of them I've seen in the past. It tells you how you put the head on, and like you want it tight and all this stuff. I think Clifton Hicks did a video with one of mine that he sold for me, and it has that label in there, and he actually has it all typed out in the description. But anyway, this one's a handwritten label, and it says H.C. Dobson, patent July 1867. Henry H.C. Dobson, patent July 1867. And then at the bottom there, it actually says price $30, which is, that's pretty cool. I don't know if maybe Henry wrote that himself, but I would say it's probably one of the factory workers at Buckbee. As many of you may know, these were made by J.H. Buckbee in his factory in New York. And one thing about these is all the ones I've seen, they're always a different size. I've tried interchanging parts on these before, and it doesn't work, with the exception of these brackets and the wood screws, because I think they were making these out of some jig. But I've seen some where this rim is a little smaller, I think, and the resonator being a little smaller too, and it may be a difference between early and late. But anyway, the way it's constructed is this is This is actually a pretty thick neck too, which is, all the ones I've held besides this one, the neck is slightly thinner and it's a bit deeper too. So there's not it's much more of like a C shape rather than like a V. And it gets real thick down here. But what happens is, you know, the neck it's actually screwed in. There's 2 screws down there that go through the resonator to bring it taut. And then this dowel goes in, and there's a small cutout here. Yeah, obviously you can't see it through there, but there's a cutout inside where that sits. And then this rim base is what I'm gonna call it. These flanges here, they sit on top of the dowel. And in some of the ones I've worked on, it's actually screwed in. There's 2 screws, there's one here, and there's one over here, right in there. I'm gonna put it in close here, you can see this is, I believe this is more poplar. It's all, you know, stained to look darker, but there's a base layer of poplar here. It's 4 pieces. And then you've got this like flange grommet reinforcer situation right here. And actually it helps make a guide for this rim, which is loose. This rim, you can actually pull it out and put it back in. And then on the other side, there's another flange, which is where the wood screws grow in, or get screwed in. And also where these support brackets are screwed in on the side. So if you want to take this apart, you actually have to take off every single one of these screws and lift this out. So it's pretty intensive. It's a simplistic design, I'd call it, but it's also sort of a pain in the ass compared to like a modern banjo. So Henry Dobson, I believe he applied for this patent in 1865, and then I guess it was approved or whatever, maybe in 1866, but it was approved July 16th, 1867. He is not the first person to do a resonator on a banjo. That was William Teed. I think his first name's William, but I think it's William Teed. Teed is definitely his last name, of New York, but Teed never did a 5-string banjo. His were all 6-string, 5-string, as George Gibson would call it, where it's 5 strings up here. You'd have another tuning machine here, or, you know, tuning peg here in the middle, and then you'd have this short string. But his, as far as I know, are all 6-string, whereas Dobson did 5-string. He also did 6-string because I've seen one in person. And I've actually held one of these tailpieces complete in person, and they're very pretty. And the guy who has it, every time I see him, I'm like, all right, man, what do you want me to? What do I gotta pay you to get that tailpiece? But anyway, yeah. If you know, oh, and of course, you know, like I said, just gets set on like this and screwed right in. I'm actually doing a head change myself on it, but yeah. If you think, if you like that, you know, you ask me questions in the comments or whatever. Maybe I missed something, but yeah, these are probably one of my favorite banjos to play. I think they've got great tone, very deep and hollow, and just they just sound old. So yeah, and I think this resonator might actually also be made out of this poplar, and then it's also, you know, just veneered with rosewood. But yeah, and there are some part numbers in there. They're just kind of obscured by the construction. I don't want to take this thing all the way apart. But yeah, anyway, thanks for checking it out, and y'all keep picking, and we'll talk later.